So yesterday I went for a test drive with the new wheels in front of the trolley, and one of the pieces that was holding it to the trolley broke. And some people wrote me like, oh no, what happened is terrible. And to be honest, is not. I'm very grateful this thing happened. Why? Because you don't want them to happen when you are on the road. So it is much better to deal with it while you still have time for improvement and you still try to understand what's wrong. And most of the time I do this kind of tryout and I shake it and I push it a bit more to the limit, because you need to be less careful and you need to be able to produce something that is reliable in long term. And this gives me the opportunity to talk a bit about like the pieces that we produce when we are doing this kind of projects. All the people I know, the friends and colleagues that work in artistic or not artistic environment, they are all having their issues by producing their own pieces. And nowadays we all have a 3D printer. And the reason why is because it's cheap, it's easy to make prototypes, but it's also not as reliable as it is as a commercial product. So the reality is that you need to be very careful how you produce the pieces and which kind of stress they are on. Usually when I watch videos of other people trying to understand which is the best material or what is the best possibility for pieces to be produced, most of them are dealing with making tests about stress of materials, but most of this stress is a static stress. So it means, for example, they put a weight, they pull it, and then they see when it broke. And this is good as a general idea, but it doesn't really work when you are dealing with dynamic stress on pieces. Which means that if I take a piece like this, for example, and I just have it like this, it is very sturdy. To be fair, it's heavy, it doesn't break, nothing will happen to it. But obviously it doesn't work when attached to it there's a full trolley, and this full trolley is anyway making a big pressure, and the pressure that it comes from different directions, and this is why this broke. So this is a part that is connecting a road to the main trolley, and obviously this part, for example, is very well designed, has different angles and is really sturdy, but that is not the real problem. The real problem is that you need to start to understand from which direction the tension will come. For example, this is the piece that I designed last year, is a piece that is connecting a vertical pole here and an horizontal pole here. So it has two axes. So it means that if this is the piece, you have a vertical tension and an horizontal tension. They are opposite directions. Which does it means that if I produce a piece and this piece is just taking care of this, it will break in the other direction. So first of all, these pieces are built in pieces, because you cannot make one piece in one mold. These are two parts of the same piece, and when you put them together, we need to make sure that the screws and bolts are really strong to hold them in place. For example, when I put this together, what I do is to make sure that in front and in the back there are parts that are vertical to the piece. So the piece is horizontal and then it goes vertical. So this is holding in place in the back and this is holding in place in front. So when this is tight, this results in one block. It's a monoblock and it can be broken. I mean, it could be broken, but it's very hard to break this part. And you need to be careful about which size of the screws you want to use and bolts, and this is where the big hassle comes in place, because, for example, yesterday I managed to bend one M6 which is in general is considered very strong, but if the tension is too high, it doesn't matter, it's metal, it will break anyway. So, and this was the first part. I can show you with the Pope, maybe with the pipe it's easier to understand. what works here, for example, is that this is like, maybe it doesn't fit. Let's see. Yeah, it fits. So this is the piece that is connecting in a vertical say. So when you have something here, you will have a tension going in all directions from these sides. So the problem here is that these should move, these shouldn't move. And when this moves too much, it starts bending the plastic inside and will break it. So why I built this like this? As you can see, there is a bolt that is like not horizontal, not vertical, and on the other side there is another one which is on the opposite side, almost as your knee are done. Okay, this is going down. So let's take this piece, for example. This is connecting to a rod on this angle, and this is the other angle. So when you have it and the tension is going in this direction and in this direction, and when there is too much stress on this piece, this will break. And for avoiding this, I created this piece which has two, you can see there's two axles, and they are opposite, almost as your knee has one. So is basically one is going like protecting the tension in this side, but you need the opposite one, and those are opposite in that direction. And this will most likely save the piece. And this is just one example of this kind of pieces. For example, this broke yesterday, and I don't think it's a failure of the piece itself. Is because another part broke, and obviously as extra tension and extra problem it will arise. So if I put this back, you can see that the part is functional. It doesn't really break. It cannot break in this direction. It broke in the opposite direction because this part was too small. So what I will do is to print it again to make sure that this part is stronger. And the other thing I will do, in the original part there was a screw, for example, you can see, I don't know if you can see the hole, there is a screw passing through the plastic, going through the metal and going on the other side of the plastic again. This will ensure that in this case this is not going to break. This broke down because the other part of it, which is this one, it was attached to this one, and this one broke. So this was working, for example, this was working perfectly, but the other junction, which is here, was not strong enough. So I have to reinforce this part. So what it broke down, he managed to break down parts that are like so thick or even thicker. So we need to produce parts that are really good under dynamic stress and not static stress. And do this, and you want to put this inside here, you have to create this kind of profile inside. You can see there's a hole, and obviously it will move inside and will break anyway. So you need to make a lot of adjustments. And the other thing you have to consider is that each material has a different tolerance. It will shrink, it will expand, and also your printer has a different way of dealing with it. Because, for example, if you print as a draft, it will be very rough. If you print it fine, it will just adapt more. So you need to be careful how you produce your pieces and which kind of attempts you do until you get to the perfect one. And even the perfect one, which I thought this was good enough, doesn't work sometimes. So again, there is a necessity of creating these parts, which you can't create them in metal at home. So as a do-it-yourself doesn't work yet. So we need to be very clever and create parts that are half plastic and half metal. So the plastic is everything in place, but the tension that we create is basically held by the metal. In this case, for example, this was working, and the two screws that were here now is completely destroyed. The plastic part was not able to take this kind of tension, so it broke like this. So I need to rebuild this part here, maybe a bit thicker, maybe a bit stronger, and maybe add another hole here to hold another screw, so make sure that this part doesn't break apart. And the other part that is very important to me is that when I talk with friends, they say, okay, why are you building your own trolley and why don't you buy a already made one? First of all, I like to build things. I really like to solve problems. I have a mathematical mind by education, so I really like and I need sometimes to create these kind of environments for myself so I can have fun on one side, but also be very happy about the result. What you buy is a compromise, and it sometimes doesn't work because it's generic. So the opposite of it is that you create your own stuff, but it's also very hard to get to a reliable thing. The good part of it is that no matter what you do and no matter where it will happen, if it breaks, you know how it's built, so you can repair it. Most of the parts of things you can buy, they are really reliable maybe, but if they break in the middle of nothing, you don't know how to repair them. This is, for example, a very big difference between like cars that were built till the 90s and cars that built from 2000. From 2000 they have this electronic like brain, so all the messages pass from there, which means that it's very unlikely that you can repair a car on your own. Until the 90s, it was possible still repair your car with some gaffer tape, duct tape, I don't know you call it, and some spare parts if you were in the middle of nothing and you don't have access to a reliable garage to repair it. And this is almost the same thing. If you know how it is built, in the worst situation, you will be able to find a solution. If not, it's just opening like your engine of your car, look at it and say, okay, it doesn't work. And you cannot really help yourself or even explain to someone else how to repair it. For example, in Norway, I broke one of the roads and there was like as thick as this one. And I didn't have a spare, which was stupid of me, but this was the case. So I went to a hardware store and they didn't have the part that I wanted, but they have something very similar. I talked with them and I convinced them to cut the part I didn't need and to help me drilling it to the part that I need. And this combination of understanding what is it and understanding what you need, it's crucial when you want to repair things on your own and when you have a longer trip without big problems. So I will make new prints. Is already the new design is already defined. I will take another test. I will go again on the road. I will break it again most likely, and I will start again over and over until the day of the next trip will come. See ya.